So I've been doing a lot over the last few weeks, and one of the things is paying attention to the news. I've been kind of forced to because, if you don't know, North Korea has been really noisy recently, and as someone living in South Korea right now, that's something I need to pay attention to. I've gotten a lot of tweets, emails, Facebook messages asking me how I'm doing. You know, life hasn't really changed. But there are a lot of things going on in my head. Part of this is brought on by the media. The Western media has taken this issue and run with it. And it's understandable why a really exciting headline will sell a newspaper. It will attract viewers to your news show. If Kim Jong-un says he's going to destroy the United States in an ocean of fire, you know, people will be excited enough to buy the newspaper that tells them so. However, if you actually read the articles, it's not entirely so clear what is happening, you know? They're not moving soldiers right now. The only thing that has been moved is missiles, and they've done missile tests in the past. We're not entirely sure what that would entail, but it's clear that they're not actually preparing for an all-out war yet. And it does worry me that the media is behaving this way. The media has started wars before, and I'm sure it will happen again, and I hope that this isn't one of those cases. You never really know how people are going to react, though. Some readers and listeners could say this is an excuse for us to go to war with North Korea, and Kim Jong-un could be reading the news and realize that we're kind of calling his bluff, and he has to do something impressive to prove that he actually is serious, at least about something. And then we get down to the actual politics of the issue. We have Park Geun-hye, the president of Korea, who is rather conservative and taking a very hardline stance against North Korea, and hardline stances in the recent past have not led to very good diplomacy. Not that North Korea has had very good diplomacy to begin with because of their own hardline stances, but it's, I don't know, not very advisable in my opinion. And then we have the fact that these threats from North Korea are actually mostly against the US, and the last thing the US wants is a war, but at the same time, a war with North Korea would be a war that we could clearly win because everybody would be on our side and everybody would jump to our aid. It would mean our victory, but it would also mean devastation for the Korean peninsula. And as somebody who's lived here for 1.5 years now, that's not something I want to see happen. I mean, even if I hadn't lived here, I wouldn't want it to happen, but it's so much more personal now. And the most confusing political player in this game is China. They're not as friendly as the US likes to think, and they're not as predictable as anybody really likes. They don't want to be associated with North Korea because the entire world is against North Korea, but they also don't want the democratic allies right next to them. This whole situation is also kind of a leftover relic of the Cold War, and there are lots of people with really strong opinions about that. Do we want to get tied up in an actual war? Probably not. Will we get tied up in an actual war? Probably not. But do we know for certain on either of those? No. And here in Korea, life is going on. Most Koreans are pretty much unfazed. This is not the first time North Korea has made lots of really ridiculous threats, and it probably won't be the last. And there's part of me that knows I'll be told when it's time to leave, so I can feel safe until Uncle Sam calls me back home. But that doesn't mean it's going to be okay if and when that happens. And all of this leads to so much uncertainty in my life, which ultimately ends up in a life stalemate. I get my first actual paycheck for this contract today, and there's part of me that says I should save it just in case I have to buy a plane ticket home. And then there's another part of me that says, no, I should spend it on things that will make the next year here valuable and bearable. I have a birthday coming up this weekend, but it's also right before Kim Il-sung's birthday. So will it be celebrated or will it be somber? I don't know. The uncertainty of the situation is what makes this so difficult for me. I don't know what the right way to go is, and there's so much riding on the decisions that I make, at least in terms of my own life. I don't want to be worried, but something in the back of my head is. I'm mostly sitting here waiting for something to happen, and that's not a way that I prefer to live my life. I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same. Let me know in the comments how this is affecting you. Let me know what your perspective is on what will happen, and hopefully, if nothing else, we can all be in this together. And until then, I'll see you all next time.